So in keeping with the injustice-based nature that has become the focal point of this channel for the past 2, maybe 3 months, certainly based around the UK courts and criminal justice system, I thought we'd deviate ever so slightly and focus our attentions on another country where something utterly ludicrous has happened that makes them look as bad, stupid, retarded, god-awful as the United Kingdom, where a court has decided in Finland that a migrant that had sex with a 10-year-old was not rape. I cannot wait to read or hear the reasoning for this, because honestly, I cannot fathom a single reason that could be adequate enough to explain how a migrant managed to have sex with a 10-year-old and it not be considered rape. I can just see Yamoski's face now cracking one off to this. Honestly. In a case that has triggered public outrage, unsurprisingly, a top Finnish court has upheld a ruling that sex between an asylum seeker and a 10-year-old girl did not constitute rape. Critics are calling for harsher sentences for child abuse. So for this next part, we need to now know what the age of consent is in Finland. It's 16. It took me 1 second to Google that. But now we should have a little look at the rape law in Finland, because this part is somewhat relevant. A person who forces another into sexual intercourse by use or threat of violence shall be sentenced for rape to imprisonment of at least 1 year and at most 6 years. Let's ignore the fact your prison sentences are quite lenient. Observations. Also a person who, after rendering another person unconscious, not relevant, an attempt is punishable. Aggravated rape. Coercion into sexual intercourse. Now this part is surely the part that is accurate. But as you can see from this, there is no mention of age on it. So one has to think Finland doesn't have a specific rape law when it comes to age. But there is statutory rape law. Individuals aged 15 or younger in Finland are not legally able to consent to sexual activity, and such may result in prosecution for statutory rape or the equivalent local law. In no universe does a 10-year-old ever pass off as even a 15-year-old. Honestly. So under what circumstances have you managed to conjure up that a migrant could have sex with a 10-year-old and it not be rape when your very laws specifically say it is? Finland's Supreme Court rejected a request from the prosecution to appeal a 3-year jail term for a 23-year-old man on Thursday. So the man has been sentenced to prison, but not for the charge of rape. The man was convicted of aggravated sexual abuse, although the prosecution has sought a harsher sentence on charges of aggravated rape. It's statutory rape. It's simple as that. Now I can understand the court not wanting to change the verdict. I think the verdict should be changed. I think it should be changed to match the magnitude of what he's actually done. Of course, there are laws for aggravated sexual abuse. However, one can make an argument that this is more than simply aggravated sexual abuse. It is statutory rape. And I think it should be punished accordingly and recognized that way. The incident took place near the city of Tampere, in southern somewhere, foreign. Honestly, if I balls up the first pronunciation, I'm not going to try the second. The man had sexual intercourse with a girl who was 10 years old at the time. No, he didn't. He raped her. Even you, the article, are being disingenuous here. No offense to RT.com. Who was 10 years old at the time, in the yard of a deserted apartment block. He also exchanged sexually charged messages with her, so he was coercing her into sex. Right. And I thought the United Kingdom was a joke. Both Foreign District Court and the Appeal Court in the city of Turku convicted the asylum seeker of aggravated sexual abuse and handed him a 3-year prison sentence in 2017. The courts didn't recognize the incident as rape, saying the girl wasn't forced into the sexual act or overcome by fear. Right. So let's have a little talk about that. She's 10 years old and does not fully understand what she is doing. We know this because we have consent law. I'm now imagining every freaking paedophile on the internet saying, "Oh yes, but children can understand if you explain it to them." No, they cannot. To have sex is an adult decision. It's why so many teenagers make mistakes. And by mistakes I mean get pregnant because they're so fucking stupid, don't use protection or have any pull-out game whatsoever. Or they just break the law and have sex when they shouldn't be, i.e. before the age of consent. We are taught what is right and wrong. We are taught because our bodies and our minds are not ready. So we have to educate ourselves. Simply telling someone this will be okay because you're 10 does not make it okay. Not everyone wants to be Muhammad's wife and sterile for the rest of their lives. Because let's face it, at 10 years old, do you really believe for a second she is physically mature enough to be able to handle the trauma that is sex for the first time with a man who's going to be undoubtedly a fair amount older than her? And in this instance, 13 years. Are you kidding me? There is no good reason for a 23-year-old man to have sex with a 10-year-old and for you to fob it off as anything but rape. She may not have been forced into it, but she was coerced into it. She may not have been afraid to do it, but she was still coerced into it by somebody who manipulated her. This, by the way, sets a very dangerous precedent. Quite a number of people now can use this excuse because you have set the precedent. You can't say you haven't because you have. And people can use this because you were dumb enough to allow this to go through. You were dumb enough to let this get as far as it did and reject the correct sentence. This man will not learn from this 3-year sentence. And that girl, if she's not physically traumatized or mentally damaged in any way, is going to grow up knowing that she fucked up. Although she might not learn it. She might lose faith in her own criminal justice system when she gets old enough and realizes, oh yeah, I shouldn't have been fucking someone at 10 years old. Or I shouldn't have allowed someone to rape me when I was 10 years old. That would be the more accurate way of putting this. The judges also ordered the man to pay the child 3,000 euros. Yeah, that'll cover a few sessions with a psychiatrist. The decision has fueled fierce debates across the country. Tuula Taminen, dear, professor of child psychiatry at the University of Tampere, insisted that the child simply couldn't know what was happening in such a situation, and that is quite right. The child could not ever understand the magnitude of what the child was doing. It is why it is an adult decision to have sex. I'm not so keen on the fact that the article referenced below it is France considering setting the age of consent to 13 after a man was acquitted of raping an 11-year-old. I might cover that another time, when my patience has worn out just enough. Back in November 2017, the National Coalition Party MP, Foreign, spoke in favour of longer sentences for such offences, which I totally agree with. You, the migrant, you, the criminal, you, the dickhead, have taken it upon yourself to break the law of the land. In this case, the law was clearly broken. It is such an extreme case as well of what you've done, that you should be in prison for quite a long time. Your sentences, by the way, after looking at them, are quite lenient. The amendment would introduce harsher sentences for serious sexual offences against children overall. In my view, that is fully justified. For example, in light of a child's vulnerability, even if the act does not meet the threshold for rape. I don't understand how it couldn't, and I know some law student or law person is inevitably going to be in my comments explaining the nuance to me. Much like previous times, fuck off. It's as simple as that. I am not interested in nuance with this. It might be that my no-nonsense approach towards child abusers, rapists, is a bit more unbreakable than other cases with other types of laws that might be bendable or malleable or have nuance. But I think when it involves children, I think a no-nonsense approach is best. In March, Finland's Justice Minister Foreign also called for tougher laws for sexual offences committed against minors. Children should be protected from violence and sexual assault by all available means. I asked officials for proposals on toughening the law on sex crimes. I regard these proposals as viable and I intend to advance them. Well, I hope you do. You mentioned in this article that it is a migrant. I don't expect that's going to be not happening too often in the near future if continental Europe doesn't do more to deal with the migrant issues. Certainly certain crime rates that have happened or increased because of, well, the migrant existence, really. Sweden, I believe, isn't it the rape capital of the world now? If not, it's certainly close. This completely failed pet project is an embarrassment. And the people who really suffer are those natives who are made to think they weren't raped when they were, who are made to feel guilty when they have been raped because it might be considered racist, or those who are being forced into silence. Quite frankly, this is an insult, and the only person who suffers really from this is that 10-year-old. Because there's no mention in this article of what happened to her after. She got some money, congratulations. But I don't think that money will actually deal with the fact that she's been put through something that could have damaged her in a way that she'll never truly recover from. Just because she didn't fear it, and just because she wasn't forced into it, does not mean she could make the right decision or that her body was in any way near ready for such a thing. Finland, you are a joke. That's all aside. I hope everyone has a lovely day, and thank you all for listening to me drivel on about Finland and their ridiculous law, and this case. I might cover France in the future. Maybe. I have a lot of projects to get first.
Omegon, I'm going to batter your prostate.
Imagine my shock